Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution.
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 You want a revolution?
You say you want a revolution?
Revolution. The revolution.
It's going on right now.
Welcome to The Revolution, the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we ask today's most successful entrepreneurs to share the tools and strategies they use to build relationships and connections to grow their revenue. Now, your host for The Revolution, John Corcoran.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host of this show, and every week I feel so blessed and pleasure to get to talk to such great guests, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs of all kinds of different companies and organizations, ranging from, we've had Netflix, we've had Kinko's, we've had Activation Blizzard, we've had LendingTree, OpenTable, YPO, EO. Go check out the archives because there's so many great episodes for you to check out. Lots of great learnings. I'm also the co-founder of Rise25, where we help connect B2B business owners to their ideal prospects. And my guest this week is Carolyn Lowe. She founded ROI Swift in 2015. And if you are curious about the world of Amazon, she helps consumer brands to get expert help on Amazon, including paid ads for Facebook and Instagram, paid search and email marketing, all those different related fields that are relevant for businesses that are selling on Amazon. And she found that there were many smaller businesses that were just getting taken advantage of by agencies that charge a lot and don't give a lot of great results. And some of her accolades include her team grew an apparel and footwear company from 0 to 12 million in 18 months. Yes, you heard that right. Through paid Facebook and Instagram ads. And her goal is to help 1,000 brands grow profitably. They've helped about 200 so far. So she's on her way, about 800 away from retirement, she says. And before that, she worked in a variety of consumer marketing leadership positions at Dell, and also ran global marketing events for NPD Research Company and consulted for many brands, including DirecTV, Callaway Golf, and many others. And she's also the author of the new book, Business Growth Do's and Absolute Don'ts, Applied Wisdom from my work with Dell, Costco, Amazon, and multiple startups. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Rise25 Media, where we help B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with Done For You podcasts and content marketing. You can go to our website at Rise25 Media or email us at support@Rise25 Media if you want to learn about how to do it. All right, Carolyn, happy to have you here today. And I want to ask you a little bit about, before we get into business do's and don'ts, I definitely want to ask about the book, which congratulations, I know was a recent bestseller. But one of the stops in your career was managing a $2 billion division at Dell, which is just insane by any measure. But tell us a little bit about the pressure that must have been involved in that role there. And there, in particular, there was you were telling me beforehand a story of a particular product that was not doing so well. And you kind of had to face the music and say, guys, we need to kind of give up on this one. So tell us about that.
Sure. Thanks for having me, John. Yeah. I never got a formal MBA, but I always got my MBA at Dell. There was a myriad of smart people. If you look around the Dell alumni, you see folks, they're CEOs of companies like GoDaddy and Social Solutions, and started a whole bunch of different startups. Staples. So if you look around at sort of the C-suite of these companies, a lot of these folks came from Dell, and we had such an amazing culture and such an amazing education. And I was surrounded by a bunch of brilliant people. So I really have the folks at Dell to thank for that. That was my sort of MBA over my 6 years at Dell. But yes, definitely. I've worked in so many different divisions. I ran the Dell Costco relationship, the Dell QVC relationship. And then I went over and ran that large division of monitors, projectors, and TVs. And if you look around, it's really hard to find a Dell TV right now. And there's a good reason for that. So that was one of my most challenging roles, I would have to say, at Dell, was a new product that eventually didn't make it.
And there was one particular piece that wasn't included that had a big impact on that particular product.
It was. I think there was a variety of things, both in the consumer market. Nobody knew we made television, so it's really hard, right? Everybody knew Sony at the time, and even Samsung. But everyone thought of Dell as a computer company. So on the consumer side, that was a hard perception to change or to overcome, especially not being in retail. And then on the corporate side, yeah, unfortunately, our televisions didn't have this little connector that all those hotel needs for their entertainment systems. So it was a really, really tough place to be. The product didn't quite fit consumers' needs, and it didn't quite fit our corporate needs.
Wow. And was it tough to stand up and say, guys, this product is just not working? You said that at one point, 80% of your effort was going into this product that was producing 2% of the division's revenue.
Yes. So Dell makes amazing projectors, amazing monitors. We everywhere you go in most businesses, you would see Dell monitors everywhere. And but yeah, I think the televisions was very hard because it was a consumer product, and it's a very, what we found through a lot of interesting research, and what I've found through research is usually if it's a couple, and let me just, this was the majority of the time, the man would choose like 3 or 4 TVs based on specs. Mm-hmm. And then the woman would choose the final one based on aesthetics. So it was a very, you don't care when it was a desktop and it was sitting under your computer. You don't care what it looks like. But a TV, you want to see it, you want to hear it, you want to touch it, you want to feel it. So there were a variety of challenges in that role at Dell. I had probably about 5 or 6 different roles, but that was the most fun, but also the most challenging.
Yeah.
Role.
Now you go on and, a little while later, you end up working for a company that was in the baby space, right?
Yes.
And that had a tremendous trajectory, tremendous growth, I think 5x. And this was in the 2014, 2015 time period. What was it like, on Amazon, growing a business on Amazon at that time?
It was fun because there were so many fewer sellers in 2014 than there are today. And so there were a lot more things that you could do, a lot fewer people that knew what they were doing. So it was pretty easy to be profitable and make a good amount of money. As you know, sometimes retail is really long lead times. You may get in, you may not get in for a year. As an e-commerce person, I've been in e-commerce for 20 years. I hate being at the mercy of like a big box retailer. So Amazon to me was always great. You could see real-time sales. You could see what was working, what wasn't. I've always had a transactional background. When I was at Dell, I was on the e-commerce side for one of my stints and working on Dell.com. And that was really exciting to just be optimizing the e-commerce site for Dell.com too.
Of course, the irony for, as you just said, you don't want to be at the mercy of someone. A lot of times businesses ultimately become at the mercy of Amazon if too much of their, eggs are in one basket, so to speak. I've met many business owners where, 99% of their revenue is coming through Amazon. And sometimes you can see they're just anxious that, they're going to log in one day and their account is restricted for one reason or another. So what do you say to businesses that, do have a lot of their resources into Amazon and, kind of are at the mercy of Amazon?
Great question. I say diversify. So we have a brand that does, 8 or 10 million a year on Amazon, and that's 90% of their sales. And so they're really starting to ramp up their direct to consumer. Amazon is sort of the thing that you have a love-hate relationship with it. It's great because, people are going there, they're buying, especially when I was in the mom and baby space, moms buy at Target, at Walmart, at Buy Buy Baby, and at Amazon. And so, if you're not in those spaces, you're missing out on a huge section of moms. I mean, they have well over, I want to say, last I heard was they have well over like 2/3 of the moms in the country on the Amazon platform. So there's some brands though, we say you don't need to go on Amazon. So some clothing and apparel brands that are direct to consumer, we say, no, don't go on Amazon. But if you're a mom and baby brand, if you're a pet brand, they're not going to go through the hoops of ordering on your website. So there's a lot of brands that unfortunately have to be on Amazon.
Yeah. And of course, the challenge for these companies is, it's going so well on Amazon. They make it so easy for me. Why would I put resources into this other area, like building out my own platform or building out other platforms, if I see such more quick return through Amazon?
It's true. But you have to think about, what's your eventual goal? If you eventually want to exit, you're going to want to own that data. You're going to want to own the customer. You're going to want to own that first party data. Versus, I've seen companies get bought in the 10 million, 20 million space. And the more that they have direct to consumer customers, the higher their valuation a lot of times, because especially if it's a strategic acquisition, right? There are companies that buy Amazon only brands and just turn them into cash cows. But you're right. It's very risky. We had a brand come to us that was doing $9 million a month on Amazon, and they got shut down.
Wow.
And they said, we've been shut down for a month. We've been through 3 agencies. Nobody can get us reinstated. They were losing $9 million a month. Wow. So eventually I got them reinstated after about 3 weeks, and they were back up and running. But it was a harmless mistake. It was one of their Instagram folks went on Amazon and wrote a review raving about it, how great it was, and said they got it for free. And so they got shut down for review manipulation.
Wow. Yeah. Tell us about the book. What inspired putting together this book?
I think enough people told me on podcasts when I was guesting, you should write a book. So I finally did. I figured if I have, I'm not a young person anymore. I've probably only got a few at bats left. And so I really want to help as many business owners and startups and emerging businesses that I can. So I keep having these one-off conversations, and they kept being the same conversation. And I had made so many mistakes over 20 years. I said, let me write these all down so that hopefully anybody else who's, a lot younger than me is not going to make the same mistakes.
And so tell us a little about, so first of all, you start with basically core values, scaling your core values and mission, which we're both active. We connected through Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, which is really big into making sure you're clear on your core values and mission. Not necessarily something you'd think, if you're starting an e-commerce business, that's something that you need to focus on right away, or do you say that you should?
I think you absolutely should, because especially if you're a small business, you can't afford to make the wrong hires. And so that was one of our lessons, was until we had our core values. As soon as we had our core values, the next day we realized we had someone that didn't fit in our company, right? They weren't aligned with what we were aligned with. They weren't passionate about growing these emerging businesses. They didn't care about what they did. So that's where we said, wow, we really started interviewing and hiring and firing based on those core values. And a lot of smaller companies are like, oh, I don't need to figure that out. But I think you do need to figure that out. You need to figure out who is the best person on your team, in your company, who's your A player. And then we put sticky notes all over the walls with what are the qualities of these people? And then that's how we really defined our core values. What makes this person such a great team member? And that's
just thinking about actual team members and what makes them so great. And that's how you came up with what your core values are. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also say you got to hire and fire based on your core values. I'm sensing maybe there was a painful experience there. So, either at any of your stops along the way, did you have, like a top salesperson or top, person who just, you had to fire because they weren't a good fit with the core values of the organization?
We did. And it's always painful. And it's always actually, I think, the hardest thing for me as a leader and a CEO.
Tell us about the specific situation. So, who it was and, to the extent that you can.
Yeah. Without naming names, we realized, A lot of great books out there, Traction, all these good books out there, but we really do look at right person, right seat. And, we did this with our team is we analyzed and we asked people, what do you like to do? What do you not like to do? And we actually restructured our team. So now on our Amazon team, we restructured what people do. They're like, I love this part of my job. I don't love this part of my job. And it worked out that, so now we have people focused on what they like to do and not what they don't like to do. And they're a lot happier and they're a lot more productive. So on the other side, we had someone who actually was not great. It was in a client-facing role. And I hate to say this, but agencies are results and relationships. Mm-hmm. And if you have someone who doesn't really care about what they do, we started realizing this negative behavior and negative attitude, and it was permeating through the team. And, as soon as you have someone toxic, you need to get rid of that person. Like they're going to take your whole company down with you.
And then you also say that connection turns customers into advocates. What do you mean by that?
So especially, when working with emerging brands, one of the companies that we worked with, a year into their existence, they realized I'm going to start writing, handwritten notes to every one of our customers that buys. I mean, they had a pretty high ticket item, not super high, but $300. And they really started making connections. And then they got an enthusiast group on Facebook. And now they're not just customers. They've got their customers actually going out and being their advocates. And I think a brand that does that really well is Chewy. So Chewy knows everything about your pet.
Dog food dog food and other dog items. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They know your dog's name. They know your dog's birthday. I'd hate to see their Salesforce database when you call in, like they probably have 52,000 fields about your pet.
Oh, I saw Rex just turned 5 yesterday. Like, whoa, how'd you know that?
or when you stop ordering and they call you to see why you stopped ordering and you say, oh, my pet passed away. They send you a gift. I mean, they take customer service to a whole nother level.
Wow. So, but what's interesting for you in your career is, you manage a $2 billion division at Dell. And now you said you're passionate about helping smaller businesses, which maybe don't have the resources to manage those things as much as like a Chewy does, right? To have resources and gifts if the dog passes away. So how do, startups or companies that are still growing, how do they balance those tensions between, as they say, champagne taste, Budweiser budget or something like that?
Pure budget. Yep.
Pure budget.
Yep. Yeah. That's my husband. So I think what I usually do with companies that I advise, so I'm part of the Beam Angel Network, which is funding and advising women founders, because women founders are typically very invested in the VC community. And so there's a couple organizations in Austin looking to change that. And whenever I mentor or advise female founders, we'll look at everything you can be doing, then just sort of do a ruthless prioritization of effort impact. And where can you get the highest impact with the least amount of effort? And those are your like go do things, right? And then figuring out like, is this just noise? And so prioritization is so important. We do a weekly scorecard and we set like monthly or quarterly rocks, through the EOS and the Traction system. And that helps us, okay, don't go chase that shiny thing down the road. Stay focused on this is going to move the needle.
Right. That's great. Carolyn, I want to ask you, we're running out of time, but I'm a big fan of gratitude, especially expressing gratitude to business partners, key clients, strategic partners, forum mates, people that have kind of helped you along the way. So if you look around at your peers and your contemporaries, those who have just kind of helped you as you've gone along, helped you learn, helped you grow, who do you respect? Who do you admire that's out there doing good work?
I'd have to say the person that has really helped me the most was my original co-founder, Dan Graham. So he's here in Austin. He's been a member of EO and YPO for a while. And what I love about Dan is he built and grew a huge company called BuildASign, sold it, Now he owns Notley Investments and Ventures and Fund. And he's actually one of the people who is funding traditionally underfunded minorities, women. He also has a whole nonprofit arm. So what I love about Dan is, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money that could just go off and, ride waves for the rest of their life. But Dan really is involved in both the community and philanthropy. And he runs some great startups called Startup Games where, people play Mario Kart and they all give money to put in, and the winning team goes to their charity. So I love the way he's got this whole Robin Hood theme to his life.
That's such a cool idea. I love that. That sounds like something that would be fun to do, especially in Austin with the startup community that's there. Carolyn, this has been great. Where can people go to learn more about the book and learn more about you and ROI Swift?
Yeah, great. You can visit our lousy website, We're the Cobbler with No Shoes. You can go to roiswift.com. But we do have a functional website, but we do spend most of our time growing all of our other clients' business. And but yep, you can find us there. You can find me on LinkedIn. And I really enjoyed being here, John.
All right, Carolyn, thanks so much.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast with John Corcoran. Find out more at smartbusinessrevolution.com. And while you're there, sign up for our email list and join the revolution.
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 And be listening for the next episode of the Smart Business Revolution podcast.